Okay, so in the wiki it says that according to an interview, it's set 2 years after the end of the main show, which puts it at 16 years in the zombie apocalypse, which is kind of wild when you think about it, but it is what it is. And yeah, I don't know. It still feels like a little bit of a jump in terms of how populated the zombie apocalypse and lived in it seems like it is. But I kind of don't mind. I'm a little lukewarm about it, but I kind of don't mind like building up new communities and new like cities and shit like that with like new places that have propped up in the zombie apocalypse. Like I am fine with that. I just hope it amounts to something and it's not just like world building without any actual like building of the world. Like it's just mentioning stuff and not really explaining them, you know? But yeah, I don't know. It's okay, I guess. So yeah. Where do we go from here? Like, I'm kind of struggling. I haven't really gotten into a mood for this show in terms of how I should tackle reviewing it. I guess let's get into character interactions. Because Maggie and Negan's characters definitely feel like they are going backwards in terms of their development from where they ended off in the series finale of the main show. It's not like they're going like that much backwards or that it cannot be like incorporated with how they ended off, but it's just like it really feels like the writers were like, okay, we just want Maggie and Negan to bicker constantly like we saw them bicker throughout all of fucking season 11. So that they decided to just kind of revert them a little bit and kind of forget that they had the heart-to-heart at the end of the series. I don't know, it's just like, based on that interaction, I don't believe that they would be acting to each other the way they are right now. Even with all of their issues and struggles that they are going through as backstories to this spin-off, with like Maggie obviously losing her son and trying to get him back, and Negan potentially having lost his child and wife again. We are not really, haven't really got an explanation for what happened there. But yeah, even with all of that, it still doesn't feel believable that they would be so angry at each other and like so bickery with each other. And again, it's still mostly Maggie fucking constantly attacking Negan and everything, but yeah. And at this point, like, I don't hate Maggie or anything. She actually, I feel like she feels more badass than ever right now. Because compared to like the main show, in season 11 when she was supposed to be like the badass lead, kind of with like the storyline with the Reapers, in like that scene where she just grabs the gun and goes to kill all of the Reapers that are still alive, like it's clearly supposed to be like a badass major moment for the character, but I never really felt it, for lack of a better term. In this episode, it was really badass the way she fought. Like, I really enjoyed her fight scenes. Like, they were very entertaining. So in that regard, her character has improved. In the regard of the constant bickering with Negan, it's back to being super fucking annoying, and I'm sick of it. At least Negan rightfully fucking continues to call her out on her bullshit with great dialogue, which brings me to Negan and where his character has gone. Because for me, in many ways, he was the thing that actually kept me engaged in this episode, and what I was excited to see where it was going to go the most. And for lack of a better term, it really kind of feels like they've kind of combined his warlord personality that he had when he was the leader of the Saviors with the more chilled out and nicer person that he became after being in a jail cell for like 7 years. Like, they've kind of combined those two, because Negan here seems like he is far more of a jokester than he honestly was in like season 11 and even 10. Like, I feel like they didn't really do too much of that side of his personality, but here he feels actually like very entertaining with his jokes and everything. And like all of his interactions because of that were like really entertaining. And his lines in this episode were all fucking gold. Like, he was the best part of this episode for me, for sure. From his meeting with Maggie, where he calls out the fact that she's either really rusty or she isn't here to kill him. Or when she asks him about the talks to him about the Croat, the guy who has taken her show, and how he just answers, "Oh, that Croat." Like, that's really funny. That's one of the funniest moments with Negan since the father, not the father line from season 9. I really enjoyed that moment. And you can even see Lauren Cohan almost breaking in that shot. Like, that's really, really funny that they left that in. But yeah, you can see her almost smile there. So maybe Maggie also kind of thought that that was funny. Who knows? I love the confrontation in the boat when he wants to throw these other guys that is traveling with them overboard, and she stops him. Like, that is probably his whole best speech in this episode. I really enjoy that. Then afterwards we have him pushing that guy to the ground after he tries to run away. We have a great F-bomb by Negan. We have the scene where a bunch of like cockroaches or insects of some kind start crawling on everybody, and they uncover under a bunch of trash. I think it's like a corpse or a lot of flesh, and those insects being all over it. And he's like, "Nope." And that's just so funny. Like, that's such a funny moment. I really enjoyed that. And that's kind of it for his character. After that, in the last like 10 minutes, there's not really much of him, and the episode kind of ends in a weird like jump scare portion, which I don't know why the fuck did you do that, but whatever. I'm curious to see where that shit's gonna go. But yeah, we've covered Maggie, who feels frustrating, but she seems more badass than ever. We've covered Negan, so I guess the next one to talk about would be Purley Armstrong, the new character, who is a marshal of the New Babylon Federation or some shit. He's decently entertaining. My expectations for that character have been pretty much confirmed to be exactly what I thought it was going to be, in regards to him reminding me a lot of Emile, I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce that name in English, from Fear the Walking Dead Season 6. Like, he's a bounty hunter like that. He does have that vibe to it, and with the way he's going after Negan because apparently he killed somebody. That is another reason why that shit reminds me so much of the Telltale games, because Negan, in this spin-off, is literally a guy on the run from cops taking care of a young girl. I mean, come the fuck on, man. But yeah, he's honestly more entertaining than I thought it was going to be. I thought he was going to be a little bit bland because I've seen a bounty hunter going after the main character in Fear the Walking Dead, and it was really entertaining. But here I felt like it was going to be kind of a diminishing returns kind of situation where it just wasn't going to be as entertaining as that. But it was fine. He was actually decently entertaining, mainly because he revealed some really interesting world building and information, because in his first scene where he goes to a bar where Negan was apparently living at and working there after running away from the marshals, he talks about him because he's after him, and he mentions what Negan did all those years ago to Rick and Co. Like when he held them at gunpoint, unarmed, and beat a pregnant wife's husband in front of her. Like, the way he explains that as this legend of the zombie apocalypse, it's kind of really fucking cool. Like, I really like that idea, that this is just now like a history event. It's like it's not really fair to compare like to World War II, but it's like this historic event that now people know about. Like I really like that aspect of it. That it's this kind of urban legend. I love that. Then later on, when he goes near Manhattan, he talks about how Manhattan was one of the epicenters of the outbreak, and the military destroyed all the bridges, so nobody could go out and nobody could go in. That's really, really cool. And I also liked his scene towards the end where he was talking to Maggie and trying to learn why is she working with Negan. And that he was willing to talk to her and not like use violence if she came out and talked to him right now. But she didn't, and she attacked him and tried to kill him. And that fight scene with him was honestly like really, really cool. Like I said, the fight scenes with Maggie in this episode were awesome. I really enjoyed them. And it was honestly like such a believable fight scene as well. And I don't mean that like fight scenes in the Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead or whatever are not like how to call it, like realistic or good or whatever, but it's like usually when you have like a female character, I've seen somebody point it out, and it's just something that has kind of stuck with me, where sometimes in The Walking Dead, when you have female characters pinned by male characters, despite the fact that the female characters are, some of them are kind of weak and are really unlikely to be able to push those people off of them, they still manage to do that. There's only like one blatant scene in which that kind of stands out. That is in regards to Rosita when she fights off Dante, and then when she fights off Beta. Two particular ones, but more so the Dante stuff, when she fights him. But I guess with Maggie, her fight scene with Leah back in season 11 was also pretty realistic, because she wasn't able to push Leah, who had buffed up and gotten like more muscular and like heavier, and like she couldn't push her off of her. But I love how she still used ingenuity and managed to push him away, and then the way she smacked him with his gun was really good. And I love how in that scene, she's about to hit him and kill him, but then she sees Negan looking at her, and in the previous confrontation at the boat, Negan mentioned, "How many husbands have you killed?" as an argument to why he's not a bad guy. Because like that whole speech by him was really, really good, and I really like it. But the way he calls out that maybe that he's not the bad guy, or maybe everybody is, and he asks how many husbands she killed, why is what Negan did that exceptionally worse? It is maybe to her in particular, but by her logic, like everybody has the right to go on a vengeance spree against her for killing their husbands or wives or whatever. And that's why in the particular scene where Pearlie is talking to Maggie and trying to find out why she's working with Negan, he mentions that he has a wife and 3 daughters. So whenever Negan sees her standing above him ready to hit him, but she chooses not to, that's basically the conversation playing through both of their heads, and I really, really like that. And yeah, I guess the only thing left is something that I enjoyed and something that I'm really mad about. First, the thing that I enjoyed. We got our introduction to the villain of this series, the Croat. He's honestly pretty entertaining. I'm not gonna lie. He's charismatic, he's interesting, his accent makes him stand out. He's one of the best villains so far, at least seemingly, that we have gotten in the Walking Dead universe in a while. Certainly one of the best villains. I mean, who was the last good villain? I mean, I guess we had Lance, but I feel like he is more entertaining than Lance. But I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. And I also love that he is like a Croatian, because, like I mentioned earlier, how I'm excited about the Dario show, because it's gonna be in Europe, in France in particular, but it's Europe, and I'm a European. So that makes me excited, even though I'm not French or anything, it still makes me excited because it's Europe. Similarly, the Croat, being from a Balkan country called Croatia, for those of you who don't know, makes me even more excited because he's even closer to me than Daryl, because I am from Bulgaria, for those of you who don't know. And having a character who is not that far off from my country. It's just really, 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 really cool. And even the lines that he says, like, and the things that are written in Croatian for him are really, really cool, and I can actually kind of understand it. It's not quite the same as my language, so it's not like I understand it the way I understand English, for example, when it's spoken to me, regardless of whether it's Australian, British, or American English, but it's close enough to where I can discern the meaning in a way. Like, for example, like, when he ends up cutting the guy's zip line, so he ends up falling to the ground, he says, kakva šteta, or something along those lines, because maybe it's a little bit of a different phrase in Croatian, but in my language, that translates basically to what a shame. It's more directly translated, it translates to what damage. But the meaning is more so, what a shame. And I love that I can understand that. And similarly, one of the episodes of this first season of Dead City is called Domasmo. I think the 6th episode is called that, which, if I understand it correctly, means we are home, which is a cool name for an episode. I always like whenever an episode title has more to it than just a title, you know, that just is like very descriptive. Like, I like the ones that have more symbolism and meaning to them, and I love that. So I liked him quite a lot. I also really liked the new actor for Herschel. He actually seems badass, and he seems charismatic as well. He is definitely a huge step up from the previous kid who, dare I say, almost or straight up ruined the scene where he met Negan. Because he sucked. And I know not every child actor can be Kaylee Fleming, but god damn it, you couldn't get a better kid than that one. Like, he sucked in that scene. Even Jeffrey Dean Morgan couldn't really save it there, so I'm glad that we got a better actor here. He definitely seems charismatic. With the way he was tied up, and he was being a badass, it reminded me of Glenn in Season 3 with Morrow. That's clearly a parallel that I feel like they're going for as well. So that's cool. It seems like we're very much having a situation similar to what we had with Henry in Season 9 of the main show, where the child actor was kind of garbage and I didn't really give a shit about the character, but once we got the teen version, he was so much more interesting and engaging, and I loved him. And it seems like that's going to be the case for Herschel as well. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, though, there's one frustration that I definitely have with this goddamn episode. And this is the stupid fucking fake out that they did to us with the trailer. Because there's no way they didn't know what they were making us think it was going to be like. Remember in the trailer, that running or jumping or parkouring walker, let's call it, that we see. That was really cool, and I was really excited to see that as a potential variant. I was not expecting running walkers necessarily, but I was expecting some variants. So far, we've gotten jack fucking shit. And I know that the Dario show is supposed to be the one with more so with the variants, but why not give us some here and there in some of the spin-offs? And we're probably gonna get some, but it's like, give us more, goddammit. It's the one thing we're watching these spin-offs for. Come on. Like, if they don't have a scene with Rick or Michonne being shocked about the new variants, I'm not gonna be mad. I mean, I guess we already are failing in that regard because Fear the Walking Dead's 8th season so far doesn't have any variants, and I really wish they fucking incorporated some. Because now that we have opened that can of worms, fucking use those worms to catch fish, goddammit. But yeah, that fake out, it turns out that this was a guy and not a walker. And I'm so fucking mad about it because I was really excited about it. But no, it was just a guy who goes on the zip line and the villain, the Croat, cuts the zip line. That's probably the silliest part of the episode for me, because the way he slides on the zipline right past the Croat, as if his minions couldn't just fucking smack him in the legs and he would drop from the zipline. Like, it felt a little bit silly there, and that's kind of the weakest part of the episode in general, because the episode just kind of ends. But overall, it was fine. Like I said, it's an entertaining show that is good written, but I don't know whether I am excited to watch it. Like, I'm gonna watch it because it's the Walking Dead universe. I don't mind more Walking Dead, especially now that Fear the Walking Dead is also ending. But I don't know, I don't feel like it necessarily has the excitement or the forward momentum that it really should have for me to like really care for it. Like, at this point, I guess what I'm looking for with a Walking Dead spin-off is something that is basically just completely new characters going on a story, just like The Walking Dead, or just like Fear the Walking Dead. Potentially in a different place in the world, like let's say fucking Europe, but not just taking a main show character and dropping them in a random location around the world and just doing a spin-off from that point in time onwards. No, I want stuff from the beginning once again. But I don't think we're really gonna get anything like that. The best we can really hope for is eventually getting like a Walking Dead legacy spin-off. But even that, I don't know if they're really gonna go for. If they really want to scrape the bottom of the barrel, they will get there. And I personally don't mind that, because I actually love legacy series that are set like a decade after the original one. Like, that's kind of cool to me, but yeah, I don't know. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about this first episode. It's not really too much to go off of, but at least it seems like it's gonna be good. And like I said, it is generally how I thought it was going to be in terms of excitement. I thought that Mag and Negan were gonna be decently entertaining, but not really exciting and refreshing in any way. And that is very much the case as well. I thought it was gonna be probably good, but not outstanding, and that is very much the case. And similarly, the expectations that I have for the Dario show, I expect that it's going to be weirdly captivating, and that it's going to be interesting and refreshing, and that the character interactions that Dario is going to have are actually going to be really fun, but it's still going to feel very disconnected from the rest of the Walking Dead universe. And for the Rick and Michonne show, I expect that it's going to be with vibes similar to World Beyond, but actually exciting, and it's probably gonna feel the closest in terms of its vibe to the main show. Oh, and I completely fucking forgot about this. How did I forget about this? Funny that I just remembered it, considering what the first note that I wrote down is, but I'm gonna mention it anyways. I get why they did the aspect ratio like this. Because it's cinematic and it makes it feel more prestige and higher quality. But god damn, do I fucking hate this aspect ratio on TV shows! Why not use the fucking space? All the fucking space you have. Why not? It felt out of nowhere for Fear the Walking Dead. So, as I was saying before, I was unceremoniously interrupted by a power outage. I get why they are using this kind of aspect ratio, because it makes everything super cinematic. And it felt out of nowhere for Fear the Walking Dead's 8th and final season. It makes things better looking, it makes it higher quality, but it also kind of feels out of nowhere. And I hate that part of myself that also kind of finds it better looking when it's like in this cinematic ratio, because why waste the space? It's so annoying. We have these giant screen TVs, and yet we don't use all of that space. Fucking why? Just why? I don't get it. The jump from 4:3 to 16:9 in TV made sense. What doesn't make sense is the jump in TV from 16:9 to 21:9 or whatever it is. I don't know what that aspect ratio is, honestly. It's fucking annoying. That's all I know about it, and I hate it. And that's also the first note that I wrote down. Why this aspect ratio? I am so sick of it. And like I said, I know why. It makes everything more cinematic and higher budgeted and all those stuff. It makes it look cooler and more prestige. But it's also fucking annoying. I hate it. I'm so sick of it. But yeah, let's continue with my notes because there's quite a lot to go through. So the next thing I've written is, Jesus, that's some flashback to Glenn's death kind of shit. And here I'm talking particularly about that scene in the beginning where Maggie kills a walker and completely obliterates its head. That reminded me of Glenn's death, and it was very much intentional. Next thing I've written is, could have been a better intro team. I wish, honestly, they kind of reused the theme from the main show. Maybe tweaked it a little bit, but largely kept it the same. Kind of like what Fear the Walking Dead does with its current theme, where it changes it from episode to episode. They could have taken that theme and just used it a little bit differently on all the different spin-offs. I think that could have been cool, because they are basically 3 sequels to the main show, you know? So it would have felt kind of fitting, but still, for what it is, in terms of its visuals, it's fine. Another reason why it reminds me so much of Telltale's The Walking Dead, because the visuals look very much video gamey, but they're also still very much in that kind of style that the main show's theme was, opening intro was in the last like 2 seasons or whatever. So I'm not like bothered by it. The theme itself, I feel like, doesn't really do much or go anywhere. Like, for all the faults that I have for Tales of the Walking Dead, I feel like at least I remember it as much as I hate it. Whereas for this one, I don't hate it, but I also don't really feel particularly any way about it, really. As it stands for me, it's kind of somewhere between Tales of the Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead's theme. I still think the main show's theme is the best. Then it would be the current Fear the Walking Dead theme, then the OG Fear the Walking Dead theme, and then it would be this one. Because like I said, it's better than Tales of the Walking Dead by far, but also it doesn't feel quite as good as the Fear the Walking Dead theme that we have right now. So yeah, I don't know. It's fine though. What is really feels like a missed opportunity, though, is, again, reusing the main show's theme in some way, shape, or form. Because not that I want like a new show to have the old theme, like how House of the Dragon, the spin-off of Game of Thrones, the prequel of Game of Thrones, has the same theme, I believe. Like, I feel like that's kind of lazy. Instead of coming up with new iconic theme, you just reuse the old one. I think it's much better if you maybe incorporate the original in some way, but also change it into its own thing. But I've seen people re-edit the main show's theme for the visuals of the spin-off, and it works really well. So yeah, like I said, I would have liked if they either kept the main show's theme and kind of changed it up just a little bit for the different spin-offs, or use the original theme as a kind of like whatchamacallit, like use it as a template to make a sequel to it in a way, just like how the series, all the spin-offs are sequels to the main show. So next thing I've written is LMFAO, what are you doing here? And this in particular is a reference to when Maggie arrives at the bar place where she ends up fighting Negan. On the entrance of that bar, there's a guy who looks like the rapper LMFAO. I think that's his name. It's the guy who was like part of like that party rock song from like 2012 or something that goes, "Party rock is in the air tonight. Everybody's gonna have a good time." And I wonder if that's an intentional reference, because in that music video for that song, it's like a zombie parody kind of thing. So that's kind of a back and forth reference to the zombie genre. I love that. Next thing I've written is, pretty good so far. The dialogue especially, and I think I wrote that down around the time when Maggie was interacting with Negan and with their banter and with Negan's "Oh, that croat" line, which is really funny and I really liked it. Next thing I've written is Babylon. What the hell? Which again is a reference to this new place or civilization called Babylon, which is, I guess, a cool name to give it like I guess, some gravitas to this community, and I like it, but I want to learn more. I'm curious to learn more, because otherwise it kind of feels a little bit bland, not gonna lie. Next thing I've written is, I love that Negan killing Glenn is a mythology now. And I already talked about this, how I love that this is like an urban legend now of this thing that Negan did to these unarmed civilians. Like, it's so wild to... I don't know, that's just so fascinating how this journey that our characters went through is just like a legend to these other people, you know? It's kind of how Rick was a little bit mythologized in the 9th season of the main show. Like, I love that. I really, really do. Next thing I've written is, this weirdly has a bit of a Telltale Games vibe to it. I think that in particular was when we were, again, in that scene at the bar with the Marshal showing up. It just reminded me of Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 3 when Clementine has this place called Prescott where she gets supplies from, hangs out sometimes and all those stuff. That's pretty cool. I like to see a little bit more lived in zombie apocalypse, you know? Next thing I've written is, dude, the dialogue is so good. This in particular to that scene at the boat between Negan and Maggie where he calls her out once again that on the fact that she continues to hassle him and attack him for killing Glenn and treating him like shit after all this time. Next thing I've written is, fuck me, fuck yes. That being a reference to Negan dropping an F-bomb. I guess it seems like they are going to be keeping the one F-bomb per episode thing that they've been doing with the main show. That they did with the main show. They haven't really done it in Fear the Walking Dead, which is a shame. I really wish they did. Maybe they will in the second half, but I doubt it. Hopefully that means that all the other spin-offs are also going to have the F-bombs, because that shit is fucking cool and I love it. But I wish they could just fucking use more than one. Like, why are we living in this PG-13 space with this shit? Like, why? Next thing I've written is, they're falling from the sky now? They're falling from the sky now. That obviously being reference to that meme from the Star Wars. And the really cool set piece with all the walkers falling from the sky, from the buildings, from the rooftops of the buildings. That was pretty cool. Next thing I've written is, dude, it feels so much like the Telltale games. Even the music sounds like Telltale. And again, I think that's in particular to when Negan, Maggie, and the guy were walking around New York City. And like, there's a shot looking at Negan and Maggie walking on the sidewalk through a broken down, completely like taken all the parts of a car, which is a shot that is literally used in episode 4 of the first season of the Telltale games when Lee and Kenny go to look for a boat at the riverbank or near the ocean at Savannah. It's literally the same kind of shot, and the music also reminded me of the Telltale games. I think in particular in one of the next scenes where they see this like kind of a barrier built by a bunch of buses stacked on top of each other. Like, that reminded me so much of that scene in, again, the same episode of Telltale's The Walking Dead's first season when Lee and Kenny find these giant bunch of walkers that were killed and put as a barrier so people can't get into Savannah or some shit. Like, that vibe was very much the same and I really, really liked it. Next thing I've written is, dude, that visual of the stacked buses, like I said, really, really cool, really, really like it. One of my favorite visuals of this first episode. Next thing I've written is, nope. that is in reference to that scene where Maggie, Negan, and that other guy are hiding from a lot of walkers, who were led to them by somebody else, and they end up hiding behind a bunch of trash bags. And under the trash bags, there's a lot of, I guess, dead flesh and a bunch of insects, and they start crawling on Negan and Maggie, and he's just like, nope. I love that. That feels so Negan-like. It's so funny. I bet this was kind of like improvised by Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Next thing I've written is, after what happened with Dwight and Sherry's kid, I am so done with kids of the main characters getting harmed. It's just cruel. And this is in reference to what the Croat plans to do to her show. And again, reference to the most recent episode of Fear the Walking Dead, Season 8, Episode 6, where, spoiler alert, Dwight and Sherry's kid dies, and they end up separating, seemingly, which is a fucking shame, but at least it hopefully means that Dwight might show up in Dead City Season 2. Hopefully. But yeah, I don't know. Next thing I've written is, this kid's a badass, much better than the last actor. I already talked about this, so I'm not gonna regurgitate it again, but I really like him. It seems like it's very much like the same situation as with Henry, where he is far more entertaining as a teenager than he was as a young kid. And the final thing that I wrote down about this episode, well, that is disappointing. I really thought that was a running zombie. Where's the variance? And again, I already ranted about this, so I'm not gonna waste too much time, but it's like, this is one of the things that really bothers me about this episode and drags it down for me. What's the point of these spin-offs at this point? What was the point of introducing the variants in the final bunch of episodes of the main show if you're not gonna do absolutely anything in the first episodes of the spin-offs? Like, I'm not saying fucking put too much attention on it, but give us more fucking variants. Why wouldn't you? Like, what is the argument? Like, at this point, and based on some of the, like, background footage, like, behind-the-scenes footage of even the Dario show, it seems like even in that one we're not really gonna get that many. Like, what the fuck? I'm so sick of that shit. If you're gonna tease us, why just tease us with it and not give us to us? This is so stupid. Where are the variants? But yeah. Can't really hold that too much against the show. That was, what I can hold against it is that they clearly fucking teased us with this being a potential zombie variant, and it turned out not to be. Like, at least if it was something like what we got in episode 6 of season 11 with, like, the Pharaoh people, that would have been cool, but no, it's just a guy who was injured badly by the Croat, apparently, so... yeah, that was disappointing. But yeah, in general, after, like, the ending of the episode was a little bit like, it didn't really go anywhere, it just kind of ended, so that's a little bit disappointing, but hopefully, it's gonna be better for the next episode. The one thing that I wanna finish off this review with is something that I think I mentioned in my review for the most recent episode of Fear the Walking Dead, episode 6, when I was talking about the comparisons between it and Dead City. The one thing about this show that I do actually appreciate is that it doesn't feel stilted. And I think I also mentioned it in the review earlier, but I'm gonna kind of elaborate a little bit more. Ever since Carl died, and especially since Rick left, even as good as the show still was in season 9 and enjoyable in season 10 and 11, it didn't feel the same. It felt stilted. It felt like a piece was missing. Similarly, Fear the Walking Dead, ever since the reboot of it happened, and then Nick died, and Madison died, and then now Alicia died, it just felt like it was broken. And even World Beyond also had a little bit of that just kind of stiltedness, for lack of a better term. The Walking Dead universe in general, I feel like, has felt stilted in the past, like, I don't know, 3-4 years. Not necessarily bad, but just, there's always been some fucking caveats to stuff. There's always been this kind of vibe of like, well, yeah, it has this issue, but it's still pretty entertaining. This doesn't have any of that. This actually genuinely feels good. Like, this feels like a polished, thought through product in a way that the Walking Dead universe hasn't felt since season 3 of Fear and season, I guess, maybe 6 of the main show. I mean, season 7 and 8, I guess, felt kind of, had a little bit of that stiltness as well. So yeah, I would say season 3 of the main of Fear the Walking Dead and season 6 of the main show, I haven't felt this kind of like quality since those seasons, which is a good thing because it means it's actually going to be good. But yeah, I don't know, that's kind of how I want to cap it off. And in terms of a rating for this one, I'm gonna go with a solid 9 out of 10. I obviously cannot blow my load too early, so I'm not gonna give it a 10 out of 10 even if it deserved it, but it doesn't, because it's felt mostly like the characters were just moving from from point A to point B to point C, and not really much was happening. Like, there wasn't too much of a plot other than that moving. So I'm hoping in some of the other episodes there's gonna be more. I'm just used to more story than just the characters moving around. But still, for what it was fine. It was entertaining, you know. I just wish there was more drama that felt refreshing and not just repetitive, as if it wasn't done already, like for a whole season. But yeah, I don't know. I am curious though to know, what do you guys think about these episodes? So comment those down below and let's have a discussion about this. And also, before we end this video, I just want to give a huge shout out to my currently 6 patrons on Patreon: Omar Bijman, Deadpool, Corvidet, Dane Harty, Peyton Jones, and Jason Christmas. Thank you guys for your support. I really appreciate it. It really means a lot to me. You have decided to support me. You have continued to support me for such a long time. Hope you continue to enjoy my content and continue to support me going forward. Thank you very much. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, please leave a like, subscribe. Also, check out the link in the description to my Wattpad, where I post my stories, because in addition to doing all these videos on my channel, I'm also a writer. And if you don't enjoy my stories or simply enjoy my videos, you can head over to my Patreon or to my Coffee account, where I can pledge support and help get the channel going, help support me so I can keep writing stories you enjoy. But if you don't want to do any of that, that's completely fine. You can still help me out in other ways, like liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and especially sharing this video with somebody who you think might enjoy it. And I think it's pretty much it for this video, so hopefully I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye!